shape, fin size, fin construction, which fin box is which, even though it's boring. We're going to begin with myth busting. 4 questions I often have to answer are: 1, does the fin have any relationship to spin out? 2, does having a bigger fin improve your upwind performance? Now, this question comes especially with regard to thruster or quad waveboards where the fins are really small. 3, will I go faster if I have a smaller fin? 4, will changing my fin improve my jibing? Spin out is caused when the nose of the board lifts up, air comes underneath, hits the fin, you spin out. Secondly, it can be caused when you have a lateral wobble like this, which is very common in chop. So whether you're the world's greatest windsurfer or amateur, spin out is going to happen if you lose a little bit of control in the chop or if you get nose lift. It has almost no relationship to the fin. In fact, the most common cause of spin out is when your harness lines are too far forwards, because if your harness lines are too far forwards, your sail is more open. And when the sail is more open, you have less mast foot pressure. And so when you sail into a gust, for example, the sail opens up, the mast foot pressure reduces, the nose lifts, and you get air traveling underneath the board. It hits the fin, you spin out. So number 1 cause of spin out is harness lines too far forwards. The next most common cause of spin out is when you have way too little outhaul and the sail is very, very curved. And in that point, it's sometimes creating some sort of uplift. And when the nose of the board comes up, air goes underneath, hits fin, it causes spin out. So spin out is really not related to the fin. The harness line position and the outhaul we're going to cover in other videos. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll be able to see those coming out soon. Will changing my fin improve my jibing? Well, there certainly is an argument to say that if you had a fin that was designed just for jibing, it would improve your jibing. However, free-ride fins are designed to help you in a straight line and already to improve your jibing. What will improve your jibing way more? If you move your mast track further forwards by about 3 or 4 centimeters, that can totally improve your jibing. Improving your technique will improve your jibing unbelievably, and even your tactics. So changing the fin for your jibing is really not worth it. The 3rd myth is, will I go faster? Hang on, is that the 3rd or 4th myth? Whatever we're on. Will I go faster if I have a smaller fin? Well, technically, a smaller fin has less drag, so it travels through the water faster. However, you need a certain size fin to get the board to lift out of the water a bit. If the board is on the surface, stuck down, going because the fin's too small, then you got so much drag from the board. In fact, for every tiny bit of the board that is touching down, that is way more drag than a difference in the fin length. So the truth is, you really need about the right size fin. When you have a fin that's slightly too big, then the board rises out of the water a little bit more and there's less drag from the board. Overall, having a smaller fin does not automatically improve your board speed. And for most people, it could ruin it. Once you are a speed sailor and you're doing over 30 knots and you have that level of control, and of course, smaller dedicated speed fins will make a huge difference. But up until about 30 knots, not really. Does increasing the fin size improve your upwind performance? In theory, yes. However, in practice, the question is normally asked of wave sailors. When people moved to multi-fin waveboards, their fin sizes came down dramatically. The result was you had to sail them upwind a little bit differently. If you have a fin sub 32 centimeters, like the multi-fin waveboards, they don't provide anywhere near enough power to get you upwind, and nor do freestyle fins, which are minuscule. So you have to sail a waveboard or a freestyle board upwind on the rail, the windward edge down, cutting through the water just like a kiteboard does, basically pushing down on your heels. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, and that's how you get upwind when your fins are too small. Putting a bigger set of thruster fins, side fins or tail fin is not going to improve your upwind performance at all, because it doesn't matter how big you get, they're just going to be too small. So you have to sail a waveboard or a freestyle board upwind on the rail. That's how you do it. For almost every free ride board and every slalom board and every racy board, the fins are over 32 centimeters. There is so much lift from that fin, you can drive into it and rely on that to power you upwind. So fin size, what size should you use? There's a really simple relationship between your sail size and your fin size. That measurement is your sail size multiplied by 5 and then add 4. What is 5 times 5?
25.
Plus 4?
29.
Okay, 29, exactly. So if you had a 5 meter sail, you should have a 29 centimeter fin. That is a brilliant bit of simple maths. In really choppy water, if you're looking for control, you could go a couple of centimeters smaller. Fin size has a real strong relationship with your board size too. Most boards are supplied with the right size fin, but there is a circumstance where they're possibly not appropriate for you. And that is if you are a free ride windsurfer, improving and learning how to use foot straps or harness or learning to jibe, you may well have bought yourself a 140 to 160-ish litre board, depending on your size. Those boards commonly would be supplied with a fin of around 45 to 50 centimetres, because a lot of people buying those boards are buying them to use with an 8-metre sail, but because you're improving, perhaps your maximum sail size on it is like a 6-metre. So 6 times 5 is 30 plus 4 is 34. So really, you should be on a 34 centimetre fin if you're on a 6-metre free riding on a 140 litre board, but they gave you a 46 centimetre fin. That's really out of proportionally too large. Furthermore, if it's over 45 centimetres, you're going to really struggle to beach start. That particular set of circumstances, you ought to buy a 35 centimetre free ride fin. But for the most part, boards are supplied with the right size fin. If you buy a 100 litre board, the chances are it's got the right size fin and you don't need to change it. If you buy a wave board, for sure it's going to come with the right size fins. You don't need to change them unless you're a competitive windsurfer looking for the finest details. So generally, do you need spare fins? Do you need to invest in fins? Nowhere near as much as you do need to invest time into your tuning, tactics, and your technique, which is exactly what Windsurf Intuition provides. Tuning, tactics, technique. If you sail in the seaweedy venue and you're using a weed fin, well, those weed fins hardly produce any lift at all, and you always find the board is falling onto its windward side, which is why when you use a weed fin, you need to use massive fins to get any kind of lift. Fin shapes. This fin is a racing fin. It's great for going in a straight line. It's a very straight fin. This fin is a wave fin. It's very curved. It's very good for going around curves, like wave riding. These fins in between are free ride fins, because free ride fins are basically a blend of the straight characteristics of a race fin for going in straight lines and the curved characteristics of a curved fin, a wave fin, for going around corners, like jibing, for example. This is a typical freestyle fin. Most of the pros use between 17 and 20 centimetre fins. Fin boxes. A power box which only has one screw. Classic or US fin box, which is used for wave sailing. You can adjust the tail fin forwards or backwards. A slot box, not quite as strong and reliable as this classic box, but very popular with the smaller fin sizes. The side fins are normally mini tuttles. This is a tuttle box. This is a deep tuttle used for hydrofoil windsurfing. When you have a foil ready board, the whole construction around the fin box is beefed up. It is this area that needs the most strength. Different constructions, but the main ones are plastic, G10, which is the green ones, and composite. Some carbon composite fins are upwards of 500 euros. K4 made plastic fins. They're super flexible when they are wave riding, but they're not very early planing. The G10 is a compromise of strength, construction, and flex. And the great thing about them, see this leading edge? I just trashed that in the gravel. I just need to sand it down to give that leading edge a smoother surface, and the fin will be brought back to life. If I damage this one, I'd have to go to the bank manager. Fin is measured in length, chord, which is this distance, and thickness or width is thickness in this dimension. A fin's chord and thickness are always related. This fin, which has a wider chord, will also have thicker thickness. The widest point on any wing, whether you're a koi carp or a jet fighter, the widest point on your wing is somewhere around 30 to 40% back. The same on your windsurfing sail. We also have rake. The more raked back it is, the less lift there is. But you do gain a little bit of control. The rake on this fin is about as upright as you would ever get on a windsurfing fin. And the wave fin is really swept back, providing lots of control. A typical free ride fin will combine the upright shape of a race fin and the curve of a wave fin. Quite upright through the bottom section, then progressively curving towards the tip. This free ride fin has a very wide chord, which improves your control and your early planing. The drawback of having a wider chord is that a wider chord causes more drag because the water flow is touching the fin here, dragging along its side and releasing at the back. The narrower the chord, the less drag. The water is moving faster there than it is down here, which is why all fins get narrower towards the tip in their chord or their width. Jibe, the tip is on the outside of the turn, so it's moving fastest. A race fin has a very high aspect ratio and a wave fin has a very low aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is the relationship between the fin's length and its chord. This is a low aspect ratio because the length and the chord are quite similar. The width is about half its length, which means it has a 2:1 aspect ratio. The race fin's length is about 6 times its chord. Aspect ratio also is used in hydrofoiling. Which one of these do you think is going to be faster? Which one is better going around corners? This one is faster. This is a windsurfing hydrofoil. This is a surfing hydrofoil. We can also go super fast on this particular one. It's very narrow. It's designed to be a very fast foil, but it has all the curves towards the tips to allow you to surf. Sail sizes and hydrofoils are all measured in the surface area, but fins are still measured purely on their length, which is kind of odd. Wave fins, if you're on a thruster waveboard, which is a board that has 3 fins, 2 sides and 1 tail fin, the tail fin will be between 17 and 19 centimeters. If you're sailing onshore, you can probably go up to a 20 or a 21 with 10 sides, but really you want to get down to about 18 or 19. 17 is probably the smallest fin you could use if 50 to 65 kilos, but for me at about 86 kilos, a 18 or 19 centimeter tail fin really, and that's been fairly consistent for the last few years. If I'm riding a quad setup, then my side fins would be 10s and my tail fins would be 14 or 15. Forwards for tighter turns, backwards for wider turns. That normally equates to further forwards for smaller surf and further back for bigger surf. And whether you're riding quads or thrusters, the fins should be 2 to 3 fingers apart. That's about 4 to 7 centimeters.